Welcome back. I hope that the last command line lecture was not all too bad for you, because in this lecture we're actually going to put it to use for the first time. So in this lecture we're going to install Sass on our local computer. Now there are several ways to do this, but I found that the easiest one is to just use an NPM package called node sass. So now you're probably wondering, what is NPM and what the hell is an NPM package, right? And that's great. So let me now introduce you to a whole new world of front-end web development, in case you haven't used it up until this point. And what I'm talking about is the huge Node.js and NPM package ecosystem, where you can find all kinds of open source tools and libraries and frameworks needed for modern web development. And one of these packages is a package to compile Sass, which we're about to use. So it all starts with Node.js, which is an open source JavaScript runtime that allows developers to write and run JavaScript applications on the server. Now, after some time, developers started using Node to also write tools, like for task automations, or again, to compile Sass, to help them with local web development. And that's what we're focusing on in this course, not the part about writing JavaScript on the server, of course. Now, in order to use and share these packages, we need some kind of tool to install and to manage them. And that's where the Node Package Manager, or NPM, comes in. So NPM is basically just a very simple command line program that allows us to do exactly that. Plus, NPM also allows us to do some automations of boring tasks, but more about that later. Let me just tell you that today, every serious front-end web developer in the world uses some kind of package manager like NPM, which is the most popular one since it comes directly with Node. So let me teach you the very fundamentals of NPM throughout this lecture, always with the goal of, in this case, installing Sass on a local computer. Alright, so the first step to actually get started with this is to install Node on your computer. So let's head over to nodejs.org and grab the installer. So this is nodejs.org, and from here you can grab the installer for Node.js. So you can just install version 6. It's more than enough for what we're going to do in this lecture. And if you're not finding the right installer for your platform, you can just go here to downloads, and I'm sure it will be somewhere here. Now I of course already have it installed, and so I'm not going to do that. And so you should probably just pause the video and wait until you have everything installed. Alright, so I hope your installation was successful, and so let's now open up the command line. So terminal on the Mac. And if you're Windows, remember, just open the command prompt by right-clicking on your start button on Windows. Alright, and so the first thing we should do here is to test if you actually have Node installed successfully. And let me just increase the window here slightly so that you can see what's going on here on my screen. Alright, so in order to test if you have Node successfully installed, you just write the command node and then -v, which will check for your version basically. And so if you see anything here, no matter what version it is, it doesn't have to be the same as mine. As long as you see any output here, it means that Node is successfully installed on your computer. Now, if you're using Visual Studio Code like me, you can also use the integrated terminal here. So there's a terminal already built into Visual Studio Code, okay? And you can totally do that, but in order to make things more clear and more easier for you to understand, I'm not going to use this one, which I use usually, but I'm going to stick with the normal terminal here, okay? So that being said, let's now navigate to our project folder. And remember how we do that? First, let's check where we actually are with ls or dir on Windows. And then I just change directories with cd, remember? So desktop, and then from here I know that the folder is called 1naders. And so I just write 1 and then tab, return, and that's it. Let's check if everything's there. And yeah, index, img, and css. So just navigate to your own project folder so that we can start using NPM right now. Before installing our first package, usually the first thing that we always do in a new project is to create a package.json file, which basically will contain the definitions of our project and where NPM will write the packages that we use. Now in order to do that, we use the npm command. So since the program that we installed is called npm, we simply need to run npm on the command line. So npm And then what we want to do here is init. So npm init will open this program here. And so you see this utility will walk you through creating a package.json file. And so this is basically just a simple helper which will create the package.json file for us. Okay, so again, this is usually the first step that we take when we start using npm on a new project. So we start with the name here. If we just hit return now, it will take this name here as a default, but let's just call it natures. The version is 1, that's absolutely okay. The description, let's just say landing page for natures. Okay, you could even leave it empty, it doesn't really matter. This also is not important. So we can leave all of this empty. Here you can put your name if you want, the license. And now it just asks if this is okay. And it looks absolutely okay to me, so okay. All right, and so here is the package.json file. So we can just open it, and here we go. So it contains the name that we specified, the version, description, main, scripts, which we're going to take a look at later, author, and license. So nothing really exciting here for now, and so let's move on now. So what we really want to do is to now finally install our Sass compiler, right? So let's do that. And it's very simple again. So we use the npm program, then install, and now the name of the package. And the name is called node Sass. So the name of the package that we want to install. And now we need to specify one last thing, and this will make it so that the package.json file is updated and lists this package as one of our developer dependencies. So what does that mean? It means basically that Node Sass is a tool that we use to develop our project. So what we do is to say save dev. Okay, and that's it. So hit return, and it should now download this package and install it. So it's normal that it takes some time. All right, and here we go. So let's now take a look at the package.json file. And here you see, so this is now listed as a dev dependencies here, right? So Node Sass is the one that we just installed, and on version 4.5.3, and it's listed as a dev dependency. That's because we specified, as I was telling you, this, where do we have it now? This, here it is. So here, this save dev option, okay? So this is like an option that we specify. And we said save dev, and so it's now installed as a dev dependency, okay? Now there are all kinds of packages on NPM. For example, imagine that we wanted to use jQuery here on this project. We could just come here and write npm install jQuery. And now in this case, we're not going to put a save dev option in here because jQuery is not a tool for development, right? It's a JavaScript file that we want to include in the project. Well, not in this project, of course, but this is just to show you how we could install other NPM packages. And if you just hit return, it will also install jQuery, and that's it. So let's now take a look. And now you see that it's nowhere to be found here in this file. Now, if we wanted it to be here, we could also say npm install jQuery. So just a trick that I didn't tell you, if you want to see the commands that you wrote before, you can just hit the up arrow on your keyboard and it will show you all the commands that you wrote before, right? So right now, if I move up, then it will show me the last command that I run here, okay? So if I type now save instead of save dev, let me show you what happens then. It then creates here a field for dependencies, not dev dependencies, because dependencies are the ones that we actually need for a project. So in case of jQuery, in our project, we want to use the functions that it offers us. While in Node Sass, it's just a helper, just a tool for us to be able to use Sass in a project. Now, maybe you've noticed that there's a new folder in our project right now, okay? It's this Node modules folder. Let's open it up. And wow, there's a lot of folders in here. And they're all because of the packages that we installed. So here we see the Node Sass package, and this is the code that actually makes it run. But this package here, it needs all of these other packages in order to work just fine. And that's why NPM installed all of these packages here as well, okay? But we shouldn't really worry about this. So just leave all of this in the Node modules folder, and there's no need to ever touch it, okay? Now maybe you're wondering, well, why do we need this package JSON file? Why do we have to worry about writing these dependencies here and these dev dependencies here as well? So imagine that you want to upload your code so that I can take a look at it if someone is not working right, okay? So if you have some kind of bug there, then you're not going to share this node modules package with me because it probably contains thousands of files and there's really no need to share these with me. So if you wanted to share your project, you will only share everything else, but not the node modules, okay? What you will share though is the package.json file, because from that one, I can then recreate this node modules folder, okay? So let's just imagine that we don't have it anymore. We can just delete it, in fact. So let's delete it. You should delete it as well. So this code is now gone. So if we wanted to use jQuery or Node Sass right now, we couldn't do it anymore because the packages are gone, the code is gone, okay? So imagine that we receive this project, and we want to reinstall these packages. So we can easily do that because the package.json file knows which dependencies, so which packages we use. So all we have to do is to say npm install. And it will now take a look at our packages.json file and download exactly the packages that we specified there. And so you see that now indeed the node modules folder is back. And in here we have all of these folders. And one of them is, of course, Node Sass. And also jQuery should be here. Yep, here exactly. So this one that we have here as well, right? Now in our project, we don't really need jQuery, right? So we can just uninstall it. So we say npm uninstall jQuery. And then we have to again specify the save flag. So the save option, so that it removes it also from the package.json file. And it's gone. So you see that it's no longer here. Well, this piece of code here, it stayed here, but it doesn't matter. It's not important. We can actually get rid of it right now. Okay, so our only dependency, so our only package that we need for our project is Node Sass. All right, and with that, we actually have everything we need in order to write and compile Sass in the next lecture. So let's just quickly recap what we did in this lecture. So we started by creating our package.json file. So I'll write clear here. So we started by writing npm init, right, in order to create the package.json file. Then we installed Node Sass by writing npm install Node Sass, and then we used save dev in order to save it as a development dependency here in our package.json file, which means that it's a development tool that will just help us building our project. Now, the reason we wanted to save this here in the package.json file is because this way we can share our project without sharing the entire node modules folder here, right? Which doesn't make any sense at all. And so if someone else receives our project, they can just do npm install just like this, and then all of the dependencies will be automatically installed. And the same of course applies to yourself. So imagine you are building this project on one computer and then you're continuing on the next one. You're also not going to take the node modules folder with you to the other computer. No, you just do npm install and that's it. So this package.json file is really useful, and each project where we have npm modules should really have one. Okay, and now with Sass installed on our computer, let's quickly move to the next lecture where we're actually going to use it to compile our very first Sass code.